Welcome to Zoe Stories. I insulted her outfit. Now it's all I can wear. My name is Caleb Torres, 26 years old, marketing analyst by profession, caffeine addict by necessity, and, until a few weeks ago, someone who thought he had everything under control. I lived in a modest but cozy apartment in the heart of Chicago, with floor-to-ceiling windows that let in too much sunlight and a rent check that screamed midlife crisis. But hey, it was home. Emma, my girlfriend of nearly 2 years, was the best part of it all. She was beautiful in that effortless way that turned heads without trying. Shoulder-length auburn hair, hazel eyes that could see straight through any lie, and a sense of style that always left people wondering if she worked in fashion. She didn't, by the way. She was a graphic designer with a home office filled with pastel sticky notes and mood boards taped to the wall like some sacred ritual. We had a rhythm, a messy, real, sarcastic rhythm that made life feel almost easy. I joked that her outfits were always some bizarre cross between runway and Renaissance fair, and she'd clap back that my idea of fashion was choosing the least wrinkled shirt from the laundry basket. But there was love there, deep down, even in the teasing. Or, at least I thought there was. The day it all started, we were getting ready for her friend's birthday dinner. One of those nights where everything took longer than expected, and we were already late by the time she emerged from the bedroom. I was waiting on the couch, scrolling through my phone, half distracted when I looked up and saw her. She was wearing this, well, let's just say bold outfit. A silky, deep purple blouse with exaggerated sleeves, a high-waisted pleated skirt that shimmered silver in the light, and chunky heels that probably cost more than my car insurance. She looked proud of it too, spun once for dramatic effect, posed with a sly smile. But I didn't see her pride. All I saw was the absurdity of it. "You seriously wearing that?" I said, smirking. Her face froze. Just for a second. It was quick, so quick that someone else might have missed it, but I didn't. And I regretted it the second the words left my mouth. "What's wrong with it?" she asked, voice calm but eyes sharp. I should have backed down. Should have apologized. But instead, I chuckled and said something stupid like, "You look like you lost a bet with a fashion magazine." There was silence after that. Thick. Cold. The kind that presses against your chest like you're underwater.
She didn't respond.
She just walked back into the bedroom without a word. We were late to dinner, and the silence during the Uber ride was louder than any argument we'd ever had. But I figured it would blow over. It always did.
I didn't know then that she had a plan.
A quiet, calculated plan that would turn my world upside down. Let me back up a little. See, what Emma didn't know, what nobody knew, was that there was a part of me I kept locked away. A secret curiosity. A fascination I never dared to say aloud. Ever since I was a teenager, I'd been drawn to women's clothing. Not in a creepy or fetishistic way, just something about it spoke to me. The colors, the textures, the way an outfit could transform someone not just on the outside, but inside. I never explored it fully. I tried on a skirt once when I was alone at a friend's house. Slipped into my cousin's old heels during a family visit and nearly broke an ankle. But that was it. Nothing serious. Nothing permanent. At least, that's what I told myself. I buried those feelings. Focused on my career. Dated women who made me feel normal. Safe. And for a while, I thought I had outrun that part of myself. But now, looking back, I think Emma always saw through me. Maybe not the whole truth, but something. She was perceptive like that, too perceptive. And when I insulted her outfit that night, I think it lit a fuse in her. One that would explode in the most unexpected way. The next morning, everything felt back to normal. She kissed me goodbye like she always did, and even packed my lunch with a cheeky little note that said, "Hope your shirt matches your sarcasm today, winky face." I figured we were good. But when I came home that night, something was different. On the bed was a carefully folded outfit. At first, I thought she'd left it there for herself, until I noticed the note on top. It was written in her signature cursive handwriting. "Since you clearly know fashion better than I do, let's see how well you wear it.
Put this on.
Full look. No cheating. Or I post the screenshots from your secret folder." My blood ran cold. There was no way she knew. No way she could have found the folder buried in my external drive. It was password protected, hidden beneath 3 layers of decoy files labeled taxes and work reports. But the note was too specific. Too direct. I opened the drawer where I kept the drive, and sure enough, it was gone. She had it. I stood there, staring at the outfit. A knee-length pink skater dress with delicate white lace trim. Nude pantyhose. A blonde wig. And heels. Classic nude pumps with a modest height. Just enough to walk in without stumbling, but high enough to make me nervous. I swallowed hard. My heart was pounding so fast, I could hear it echoing in my ears. This wasn't just a joke. This was blackmail. And I didn't know what terrified me more, her discovering my secret, or how excited a part of me felt reading that note. The note stared at me like a dare. I picked it up again, half hoping I'd misread it. Full look. No cheating. Or I post the screenshots from your secret folder. How did she even get in? That folder had a double password, a decoy folder labeled budgeting tips sitting on top of the real one. But she had found it. And the implication was crystal clear. This wasn't a prank. This was control. Emma's control. I felt hot. Embarrassed. Exposed. But beneath that, a sharp stab of something else. Curiosity. Maybe even desire. I stood frozen in place for what felt like hours, staring at the pink dress. It looked impossibly delicate, soft like it would fall apart if I held it wrong. I brushed my fingertips against the fabric, and an electric shiver ran down my arm. My breathing changed. It was like a part of me that had been dormant for years stirred and stretched, blinking into the light. I should have thrown it in the closet, tossed it under the bed, and called her bluff. But I didn't. I picked it up. It wasn't easy at first. My hands shook as I peeled off my work shirt. Every time I caught my reflection in the mirror, shame stabbed at me. I was a man, wasn't I? A straight man. A professional. What the hell was I doing? And yet, layer by layer, I stepped further into the person I had always tried to suppress. The pantyhose were tricky. I sat on the bed, trying not to rip them as I slid them up my legs. The nylon clung to my skin, smoothing over every imperfection, hugging muscles I hadn't known would look so different in that sheen. Next came the dress. Pulling it over my head was like diving underwater, sudden, shocking, complete. The skirt flared out as it fell, brushing just above my knees. I turned slightly and caught a glimpse of myself in the full-length mirror. And I froze. I didn't recognize the person staring back. Sure, the shoulders were too broad. The jawline a little too sharp. But the silhouette, it was there. Feminine. Almost graceful. The pink looked good on me, too good. The lace felt sinful against my skin. I reached for the wig. It was long and straight, a platinum blonde that shimmered under the bedroom lights. I tugged it on clumsily, pushing the strands back behind my ears. It felt strange, like someone else's identity wrapping itself around mine. Then the final piece, the heels. Slipping into them was like finishing a puzzle I hadn't realized I was building. My feet fit, surprisingly. The angle of the heel lifted me into an unfamiliar posture. My back arched slightly. My hips tilted forward. Every movement became deliberate. Every step a challenge. I took a few careful paces in front of the mirror. The floor creaked under my weight, and I wobbled once, arms flailing like a newborn deer. But I didn't fall. I straightened, caught my balance, and stared again. This was me. And it wasn't. It was someone else. Someone I didn't know yet, but couldn't stop looking at. That's when I heard the front door unlock. Panic. Full-blown, heart-slamming, gut-churning panic. I stumbled backward and nearly twisted my ankle. I scrambled for the zipper of the dress, fumbling with shaking fingers, heart hammering in my chest like it wanted to escape. I had no time. She was home. Early. But then, I heard a voice through the door. Don't forget to water the succulents while I'm gone. Be back tomorrow night. My stomach dropped with relief. It was a recording. Emma had left one of those voice-activated reminders through our smart speaker system, something she set up for me when I kept forgetting her little chores. She wasn't home. Not yet. I sagged onto the edge of the bed, heels kicked off, breath catching in my throat. She was testing me. She wanted to see if I'd break. If I'd actually wear the outfit. She hadn't threatened me to punish me. She was setting a trap. And I had walked right into it. But instead of ripping off the dress, I pulled the heels back on. Because now I wanted to see how far I could go. The next morning, I expected Emma to return early. Instead, she sent a text. Asterisk out with Beth and Harper for brunch. Won't be back till late. Hope you're behaving or not. Winky face, asterisk. I didn't know what that wink meant. Was she taunting me? Giving me space? I went about my day like normal: coffee, emails, Zoom meetings. But all I could think about was the outfit in my drawer. Yes, drawer. I hadn't put it away. I'd folded it gently and placed it inside like it belonged there. That night, I wore it again. This time, slower. I added mascara, badly. Lip gloss, slightly better. My hands shook less. I brushed the wig out carefully and even added a choker I found in Emma's vanity drawer. I told myself I was just playing along. But the truth? I liked how I looked, and I hated that I liked it. I sat in front of the mirror for hours, studying my reflection like it was a crime scene. I crossed my legs like Emma did.
Posed.
Practiced a higher voice. I wasn't just dressing up. I was becoming her. Or someone like her. Someone free. But then came the guilt. What was I doing? What if she came home and saw me like this? What if she wanted me to become this? That night, I dreamed I was at the dinner party we missed. Except I wasn't Caleb. I was some gorgeous stranger in a skater dress, heels clicking across hardwood, laughter floating around me. Emma stared from across the room, smiling with something between love and power in her eyes. When I woke up, I was still in the dress. That evening, a package arrived for me. It had no name, just my address and a note. Thought this would suit you better than my things. Let's make it official. Inside was a brand new outfit. White blouse with sheer sleeves. Navy blue pencil skirt. Black tights. Modest heels. Professional. Conservative. Feminine. There was also a compact with foundation that actually matched my skin tone and a small guide titled For Beginners. She knew. She knew everything. Emma wasn't just indulging me. She was orchestrating this. And I couldn't stop. I tried to resist. I tried to ignore the box, go back to my old clothes. But they felt foreign now.
Stiff. Wrong.
I showered.
Shaved.
Moisturized. And for the first time, I got fully dressed with purpose. I wore her gift. I walked to the mirror again and stared at the reflection that now felt familiar. I didn't just see a man in women's clothing. I saw someone else. Someone beautiful. And I didn't want to stop. That night, Emma called. I'll be home tomorrow, she said. Her voice was light, teasing. I hope the apartment's clean. There was a pause. And I hope you're ready to show me what you've learned.
Click.
I stood frozen, phone still against my ear. She knew. She had known all along. This wasn't a prank anymore. This was a game. And I wasn't sure who was winning. But I knew one thing. By tomorrow night, I wouldn't be Caleb anymore. At least, not in her eyes. The text came in just as I was getting out of a shower. Let's see if you're really sorry. I left a little outfit for you in my drawer. You've got until I get home to try it on properly. If not, maybe I'll let your buddies see that pic you took last night. Red heart. I froze. That wasn't just a threat, it was a trap. I could have called her bluff. I could have ignored the message, pretended it never arrived. But she knew me too well. Emma always had this sixth sense when it came to my boundaries. She never pushed until I broke, but she got damn close every time. I walked to her drawer slowly, like it might bite. Inside was a folded outfit, neat, precise, daring. A white satin blouse with little pearl buttons and delicate ruffled sleeves. A high-waisted, pleated navy skirt. Black sheer tights.
And, to top it all off, a padded bra.
My throat went dry. This wasn't just a game anymore. She was dressing me up like a woman, and not for a joke. This was punishment. And something else. Something worse. It was turning me on. I stood in front of the mirror, towel still wrapped around my waist. I held the bra in one hand and the blouse in the other. A whisper of doubt crept in. You're not seriously going to do this. But I already was. The bra fit snug. The pads rounded out my chest, soft and full, and I stared at myself as I clipped it shut. I pulled the blouse on carefully, buttoning it one pearl at a time. The fabric felt alien and sinful against my skin.
Cool.
Feminine. The skirt swished as I stepped into it, falling just above my knees. I pulled the tights up slowly, inch by inch, the nylon sliding over my freshly shaved legs. My body looked not like mine. The softness, the curves, it was like watching someone else emerge in the mirror. And for the first time in my life, I didn't look away. Emma had added a small cosmetic bag beside the outfit. I almost laughed when I saw it, like she'd thought everything through. It was too much. And yet, I unzipped it. Inside, foundation, mascara, eyeliner, blush, lipstick. All lightly used, all distinctly hers. Her scent clung to them. Powdery, floral. I picked up the lipstick and twisted it up. Rose petal pink. I sat down at her vanity. My hands trembled as I tried applying the foundation. I watched YouTube tutorials on double speed, mimicking their movements as best I could. The first few strokes looked like clown paint. I wiped it off and started again. And again. Slowly, the image sharpened, something softer, something blurred. I added blush, mascara, eyeliner. When I finally finished and looked up, I gasped. My reflection stared back, wide-eyed, confused. I didn't look like Caleb anymore. Not really. That's when my phone buzzed. Leaving the office. Be home in 20. Hope you're wearing something cute. Face blowing a kiss. My blood turned cold. 20 minutes? I looked around the room. It was chaos, clothes strewn, makeup everywhere. I hadn't even touched my hair. Or the heels. Yes. She had left heels. Simple black pumps. Not too tall, but not flat either. I picked them up like they were cursed. I'd never worn heels in my life. Okay, I whispered, as I sat down and slid my foot into the first one. It was tighter than I expected. The second slipped on easier. I stood and almost fell. Everything shifted. My balance.
My posture.
My hips instinctively adjusted to stay upright. I walked a few steps, wobbly but determined. With every click of the heel, my heart pounded louder. I caught my reflection again. This was no longer a joke. No prank. I was wearing her outfit, her clothes, her makeup, her scent. I had become the very thing I mocked. And I didn't hate it. The apartment was too quiet. The ticking clock became a countdown. 15 minutes.
10. 7.
I rushed around, trying to clean up the vanity, stuff everything back where it belonged. But then paused. What was I doing?
She wanted to see me like this. She dared me.
She threatened me. But would she be angry? Amused? Worse, would she enjoy this? I tried to sit still on the edge of the couch, knees pressed tight together. The skirt slid up my thighs as I shifted. I pulled it down. My legs looked sleek, feminine. My face felt unfamiliar under the weight of the makeup. I wanted to wipe it off, and also never take it off. I heard the key turn in the lock. And I stopped breathing. Emma stepped inside like nothing was wrong. She dropped her bag, kicked off her heels, and looked up at me. And smiled. Well, she said, closing the door behind her. Would you look at that? I didn't speak. Her smile widened. She stepped closer, circling me slowly, inspecting. I didn't think you'd actually do it, she whispered. Not all of it. But you did. She leaned in, brushing my cheek with her fingers. Foundation's a little thick, but the eyeliner's decent.
And you shaved.
Good boy. I flinched at the words, but felt something tingle in my stomach. She sat on the armrest beside me, crossing her legs. How do you feel? I struggled for words.
Weird.
Nervous. She tilted her head. Turned on. My silence answered for me. She laughed softly and reached for her phone.
Click.
I blinked. What are you doing? Taking a picture, she said casually. You look adorable. I tried to stand, but She placed a hand on my shoulder. Relax. You already posed for one last night. This one's just a little more elegant. I swallowed hard. Are you mad? Emma looked genuinely surprised.
Mad? No.
I'm impressed. You're more obedient than I expected. I stared at her, heart racing. So, what now? She leaned in close, her voice a whisper. Now? We make things a bit more fun. Emma stood in front of me, arms folded, that maddening smile playing at the corners of her mouth. I sat frozen on the couch, makeup thick on my face, legs trembling in tights and heels. Well, she said, you really went all in, didn't you? I tried to laugh it off. You told me to. No, she corrected. I dared you to. You chose to obey. She walked behind the couch, her fingers trailing along the back cushions, then over my shoulder. I shivered at her touch. I have to admit, she whispered near my ear, you look even better than I imagined. My cheeks flushed. I couldn't look at her. She stepped in front of me again, crossing her arms. Stand up. I hesitated for half a second, then obeyed. The heels wobbled beneath me again, and she reached out, not to steady me, but to tug the hem of my skirt down gently. I like this on you, she said, circling me like a lioness stalking prey. But it's not enough. She opened her closet door, pulled out a dress, and held it up. It was stunning and terrifying. A soft lavender bodycon dress, sleeveless, with a plunging neckline and just enough stretch to leave nothing to the imagination. I swallowed. You want me to wear that? I don't want, she said sweetly. I expect. Off with the skirt and blouse. My breath caught. Here? I asked, my voice breaking.
Now.
Her voice was firm. Dangerous. It wasn't a question. I slowly unbuttoned the blouse, revealing the padded bra beneath. She watched without flinching. Next came the skirt, which I unzipped and slid down, standing awkwardly in just the bra, tights, and heels. Emma didn't laugh. She looked me over like I was some art project. Then she handed me the dress. Put it on. The fabric clung to my skin as I pulled it over my head. It was tight, almost too tight, but it slid into place, hugging my body in ways I didn't know were possible. My chest looked fuller, my waist narrower, and my hips rounded. Emma stared. She walked around me again, then stepped close, adjusting the straps, smoothing the fabric across my sides. You really do clean up nice, she said, gently pressing her hand against my back. Turn. I turned. Slower. I spun again, slowly this time, each click of the heel echoing in the silence. She pulled out her phone and snapped another picture. You're building quite the portfolio, she teased. I tried to speak, but my throat felt dry. What are you going to do with those? Emma smiled. That depends. Are you going to keep being a good girl? My eyes widened. She saw the look on my face and leaned in. Oh, don't pretend you didn't like that. Look at yourself. She dragged me toward the full-length mirror. You've never looked this polished, this poised. I stared. She was right. I looked like a stranger, and I couldn't stop staring. Emma stood behind me, wrapping her arms loosely around my waist, her chin resting on my shoulder. You're not Caleb right now, are you? I hesitated. She whispered. You're something softer. Something prettier. I shivered. Her voice dropped. I think you need a new name. I turned to her, startled. What? A name that fits her, she said, gesturing to the reflection. Because Caleb wouldn't wear lipstick or a dress like that. But she would. I stayed silent. How about, she tapped her lip. Callie. My heart skipped.
Callie.
It felt light, playful, dangerous. Emma looked me dead in the eyes. Say it. What? Say, my name is Callie. I opened my mouth.
Closed it.
She raised her brow. Don't make me ask again. I whispered. My name is Callie. Louder. My name is Callie. Her grin spread. Good girl. I blushed deep red, but a strange flutter of warmth spread through my chest. Let's make it official, she said, pulling out her phone again. Wait, Emma, no. Sure, she said, already snapping selfies of the two of us. Smile, Callie.
I did.
I couldn't help it. She pulled me onto her lap. You know, this started as a punishment, she whispered, brushing my hair back behind my ear. But now, I think we're just getting started. I stayed in Emma's lap longer than I meant to. At first, it was out of shock, some part of me frozen by how fast everything had shifted. One moment, I was scrambling to keep my secret. The next, she was holding me, naming me, owning me. But it wasn't just shock anymore. It was comfort. It was terrifying how right it felt. Emma's fingers idly played with the hem of my dress as she leaned into my ear again. Do you even remember what it felt like to be Caleb? I didn't answer, because I wasn't sure I did. Exactly, she said, almost smugly. She kissed my cheek, soft and slow, and then pushed me gently off her lap. Go sit at the vanity. I stood shakily in my heels and crossed the room. My legs moved differently now, swaying slightly. I sat on the cushioned stool, staring at the reflection of a girl I didn't recognize. Or maybe I did. Maybe I always had. Emma approached behind me and placed a pair of earrings beside the lipstick. Put those on. I obeyed without question. The hoops caught the light as I clipped them on, and the effect was instant. My look felt complete, too complete, like the point of no return had already passed. You're getting good at this, Emma said, brushing out my hair with slow strokes. Every movement, every detail. It's like you were always meant to be her. I closed my eyes. It was supposed to be a game.
A dare.
A punishment. But it didn't feel like punishment anymore. It felt like confession. I can't go out like this, I whispered. No one can see me like this. Emma rested her chin on my shoulder again. Why not? You look beautiful. I tensed. Don't you want people to see how pretty you are, Callie? I bit my lip. It's not that simple. She turned me to face her. But it is. You're hiding behind Caleb because you're scared. Scared of what people will think. Of what you think. I'm not like this, I said weakly. This isn't me. Emma crouched in front of me, hands on my knees. Then take it off, she challenged. My breath caught. What? If this isn't who you are, she said softly. Take off the wig. Wipe off the makeup. Go put your jeans back on. Be Caleb again. I hesitated. My hands didn't move. Emma watched me with a quiet, knowing expression. You can't, she whispered. My voice cracked. I don't know how. Her smile was sad, almost tender. That's because you do know who you are. You just don't want to admit it. The silence stretched between us like a tightrope. Then, the knock. A single, sharp rap on the door. I froze. Emma stood up instantly, peeking through the window blinds. Shit, she hissed. What? I asked, panic rising in my throat. My sister. She's early. I shot to my feet, heels clicking wildly against the floor. Emma, I can't be seen like this. She spun around, eyes blazing. Then run. I stopped. What? Run, she said. Out the back.
Hide.
Strip and toss everything in the hamper, whatever you want. I just stared. She crossed her arms. Or, she said, voice dropping to a purr, you could stay. My knees nearly gave out. Stay, she said again, stepping closer, and let her see Callie. I shook my head rapidly.
No.
No way. She tilted her head. Then choose, Callie. You've got 10 seconds. Another knock, louder this time. Emma moved toward the door. Wait, I whispered. She turned. My heart thundered in my chest, the makeup on my skin suddenly hot, itchy. Too obvious. I looked down at the heels, the tights, the dress that clung too tightly. I couldn't do it. I ran. I barely made it into the bathroom before the door creaked open in the other room. My hands shook as I tried to yank off the dress, panicked breathing echoing off the tiles. The zipper caught halfway. Of course it did. Come on, I whispered, struggling. I finally peeled it off, grabbing one of Emma's oversized hoodies from the hook and throwing it over my head. It fell just low enough to cover the tights. I kicked off the heels, stuffing them under the sink cabinet. Then I stared at my reflection again. The wig was still on. The makeup? Still flawless. I looked like a girl in a borrowed hoodie, hiding in plain sight. A knock on the bathroom door. Callie? Emma's voice. I opened the door a crack. Did she see anything? Emma grinned.
No.
I handled it. Relief washed through me, but it was short-lived. She's staying for dinner, Emma added casually. My stomach dropped. What? Yup. And I told her I had a friend over. Emma crossed her arms. So, you have two choices. Come out and be Callie. Or stay locked in here like a secret. My heart raced. You want me to eat dinner like this? She leaned in close. Callie, she whispered, don't you want to know what it feels like to be seen? The table was already set. Emma's sister, Lucy, sat at the far end, sipping wine. She was younger, sharper, with keen eyes and a devilish smile. I stepped out slowly, every footstep feeling like an earthquake in my chest. Emma had brushed my wig back into place. She'd retouched my lipstick, handed me a cardigan, and told me to smile like you mean it. Lucy looked up. Hey, she chirped. You must be Callie. Emma told me someone special was visiting. My throat was dry. Hi. She smiled warmly. Love your nails. Where'd you get them done? Emma cut in. Callie's experimenting with new looks. Oh, I get it, Lucy said, winking. It suits you. I blinked. No judgment. No raised eyebrows. Just acceptance. Was this what it could feel like? To just exist? Dinner passed in a blur. Emma dominated the conversation, steering it away from dangerous topics. I spoke when spoken to, nodded politely, forced a laugh or two. But the real moment came after dinner, when Lucy finally stood. Well, she said, I should head out. Great meeting you, Callie. She pulled me into a brief hug and whispered in my ear, whatever your story is, don't let fear write the ending. I froze. She winked, then disappeared into the night. The silence that followed was deafening. I stood in the hallway, still wearing the cardigan, the tights, the name. Emma stepped behind me and slipped her arms around my waist again. You did amazing, she whispered. She bought it. I don't think she bought anything, I whispered back. I think she knew. Emma didn't reply. She just smiled. You're not Caleb anymore, she said, guiding me toward the mirror again. You're Callie. You've always been Callie. And now, she reached into the drawer and pulled out a small velvet box. Opened it. Inside sat a delicate silver necklace with a single word etched on the charm. Callie. She fastened it around my neck.
There, she said.
Now it's official. I touched it gently, lips parting in shock. I don't want to go back, I whispered. Emma smiled sadly. Then don't. But even as her arms wrapped around me again, I felt the pull of reality creeping back. My phone buzzed. A text from my boss. Reminder. Presentation Monday. Need your input. I stared at the screen. Caleb's life was still waiting. But Callie had stolen my reflection. And I wasn't sure who I was anymore. The necklace still hung around my neck when I got home. I hadn't taken it off. Not even when I'd changed back into Caleb's clothes. Not even when I washed off the lipstick and wiped away the eyeliner. It didn't feel like a costume anymore. It felt like a chain. A beautiful, delicate chain tying me to something I couldn't escape. I stood in my bedroom, staring at the reflection of a boy who had vanished, except for the necklace. It glinted against my skin like a secret no one else knew. Except Emma. Except Lucy. And maybe except me. My phone buzzed again. Another message. Boss. Need those reports by 10 a.m. sharp. Big clients. No excuses.
Right.
Caleb's life. The real one. The one with deadlines, meetings, and people who'd never seen what I'd become. What Emma had helped uncover. But when I closed my eyes, I didn't see Caleb in that meeting room. I saw Callie, sitting across from clients, legs crossed in sheer tights, her voice calm and confident. And I didn't know which terrified me more, that image or how good it felt. The next morning, I barely slept. I kept seeing flashes, Emma's hands in my hair, Lucy's knowing smile, The way I felt when people saw me as her. Not him. I threw on a button-down and khakis. Standard Caleb armor. But the necklace? Still there. I tucked it under my shirt. Hidden.
Like me.
I arrived early at the office.
Quietly. Safely.
Like always. But something was off.
People kept glancing at me.
Whispering. I tried to ignore it. Maybe I was paranoid. Until my manager cornered me in the break room. You okay? He asked. Rough weekend. I blinked.
What?
You just look different. His gaze dropped for a second, to the faint shimmer on my cheek.
No.
No. I ran to the restroom and locked the stall. My fingers trembled as I pulled out my compact mirror. There it was. A hint of blush I hadn't noticed. A ghost of mascara on my lashes. And worse, lipstick residue on the inside of my lips.
Callie wasn't gone.
She was bleeding through the cracks. I made it through the meeting. Barely. I kept my head down, voice low, praying no one else noticed. That the traces of her would fade by the hour. That I could return to being Caleb fully, neatly,
safely.
But as I left the conference room, I saw a familiar face standing by reception.
Emma.
No makeup. No smirk. Just
Emma.
Holding a small bag. My stomach dropped. What are you doing here? I hissed, rushing toward her. She smiled, subtle and slow. You forgot a few things. She handed me the bag and whispered close. You left your heels. I figured you might need them. My face burned. You can't be here. Not like this. But Emma just leaned in, soft and dangerous. She's not going away, she murmured. You can bury her, smother her, lie to yourself. But Callie's in there, and I think you want her to be. Before I could reply, she was gone, and I was left holding the bag. Heels, wig, lipstick, and a note.
Tonight.
7 p.m. My place. No more hiding. I stared at the clock all afternoon. My hands wouldn't stop trembling. Part of me wanted to burn the bag. Pretend none of this ever happened. Go back to normal. But normal didn't fit anymore. Not since she called me by name. Not since I looked in the mirror and saw her. 7:04 p.m. I stood outside Emma's door. Bag in hand. Heart pounding. I didn't knock. I couldn't. But the door opened anyway. Emma was waiting. She said nothing. Just stepped aside. I entered the familiar room. The vanity. The mirror. The clothes. Everything was there, just like I left it. Emma placed a hand on my shoulder. Her voice was soft.
Certain.
No more pretending. I nodded slowly. And then, she unzipped the bag and handed me the dress. Same one I wore before. I stared at it. My hands didn't move. But my heart screamed yes. In the mirror, Callie returned. Bit by bit. Lipstick.
Wig.
Lashes. Heels. Each piece a confession. Each layer a truth. Emma stepped back, eyes gleaming. There she is. I turned slowly. My knees shook. My lips parted. I don't know who I am anymore, I whispered. Emma smiled. Yes, you do. But before I could answer, before I could take a breath, a voice rang from the hallway outside. Callie? Are you in there? It wasn't Emma. It wasn't Lucy. It was my boss. I froze. Emma's eyes widened. Did you tell anyone? She whispered. I shook my head, mouth dry. Another knock. Louder this time. Callie? We need to talk. How did he know? How did he find me? Why was he using that name? Emma grabbed my hand. Don't answer. But it was too late. The door handle turned.